So we are going to start. Okay, first of all, probably the best thing would be to present all three. Probably Katie, girls first. Probably you can present yourself first of all, and
Sure.
then go to Yoshino to present himself. Okay.
Okay. Do you want to do? Since you're our host, would you like to kick us off?
Just present yourself. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Anderson. I'm based in the San Francisco Bay Area in California. So it's 6:30 a.m. I'm having a nice cup of coffee, and I'm so happy to be here with all of you around the world. I'm a coach and consultant for Lean and Leadership, and I had the pleasure of moving to Japan 5 years ago, where I first developed a friendship with Isao Yoshino, and then 4 years ago met Rafael when he was visiting Spain. Sorry, when he was in Japan from Spain, and we all got to know each other then. And so it's wonderful to be all here together. And I'm really looking forward to sharing some content in the book that I've written about Isao's experiences at Toyota and what it means to be a leader and a learner and creating a people-centered culture. So we're really thrilled to be here together with you, and looking forward to both the conversation, presentation, and a discussion this morning, or this afternoon or this evening, depending on where you are. Mr. Yoshino, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, okay. Hi, everyone. I can't hear you. Only I can hear Katie. But anyway, my name is Isao Yoshino. I'm already retired, but I'm still doing pretty busy. I don't know why, but anyways, today is really the first time for me to try this webinar thing because I'm no expert on the computer. So, but this is very, very good opportunity for me to talk with so many people around the world. And I would like to share my own experience, but it's not actually Katie wrote a book and it will be published pretty soon. And maybe if you buy it and you can see all those details. However, tonight or today, just we are going to talk a little bit about the key topics about why we met, why we are still learning with each other. Anyways, please feel free to ask questions. And even though I cannot hear you guys, but still it's very, very good opportunity to exchange opinions through online. So nice to talk to you guys.
Fantastic, Isao. Fantastic, Katie. Yes. So I will present myself also. Some of you know about me. Probably I'm Rafa Lucero. I'm from Spain. I'm in the central time zone, European time zone. I'm also industrial engineer, and I'm in the lean business world since September 11th, 2001. Yeah, it's a good time to start things. It's like almost like these complicated times, you know. We're going to be here until 5 p.m. Spanish time, 1 hour and a half. Yeah, and let me go through. I will do a little introduction of the session initially, and then I will pass Katie and Yoshino that they are really the important guys today. That because of we have a lot of people in here in the webinar, and we have also a lot of people in YouTube Live. That is the first thing I do, YouTube Live at the same time that we are running this discrete meeting session. I would like to show you the ideas that we could share with you. Okay, this is the little summary. Session intro is going to be really short. Okay, as Katie told you, we meet each other in Japan in one of the Spanish trips we used to do every year, you know. And I knew Katie because she's fantastic blog. Katie, probably you could write down your blog in the chat area. Katie has a fantastic blog regarding leadership, regarding Japan, because she was in as she will tell you, she was living in Japan for 3 years, and he started to share a lot of experiences in Japan. And I knew Katie in the website, and once I was there, we met it one day He presented me Isao Yoshino. Then I met Isao. So just to know, the world is so little. The world is really so little. Yoshino, as some of you know, traveled to Spain with me several times. Even with some not very good experiences in one of the trips. But it really has. I wanted to show you. Alto Katie will tell you about this a lot. The world is really little, and we have to take profit in the good sense, of course, one of each other, because it's always a learning situation. Let me go for 10 minutes, maximum 15 minutes, about my idea of this continuous improvement, this lean thing, because the consultants, the teachers in lean, we are always inventing new words, new areas, and because of that, I have developed a little word in order for you to remember about what continuous improvement is, at least for me. Okay, it's not a real truth because it's my model, but it's called 4P29. This is a way of understanding continuous improvement probably in a different way that you had ever seen. And the 4P29 model is about 4 words that starts with P, and I'm going to start with the three first of them. Three words that start with P that are common to any company regarding the how big this company is. If you work for the public sector, if you work for hospital, if you work in the automotive industry, if you work for whatever the industry or sectors of the service sector, and these 3 words are completely necessary in order to not only start, even to maintain the continuous improvement in a proper way. Okay, I talk about these 3 P's. First P, of course, is people. And we are going to talk a lot about this in the webinar today. All this is about people. Yeah. The second P is processes. We should have ways. We have to do ways in order to know how to do the things, because normally the companies, the people is doing the things in a way, but it's not a defined way. And if you don't have a defined way, how do you know who is doing the right things, or even the good things or the bad things? So processes are really important. And for sure, Katie will talk about that today also, And the third P I talk is problems. That I'm sure Katie will talk about that for sure today also. What is continuous improvement? Continuous improvement is always with the people, trying to improve the processes that we are having in order to minimize the problems, because we are going to have problems always, and we have to realize that it's a good thing to have problems, because if I always say that if we didn't have problems, probably all of you wouldn't have a job, because none of you are working, adding value in your company. So, okay, this is my first introduction. I don't want to tell you too much about all my model 4P29, but remember that customers are important, but the most important point is the people that is working in your company. And I love this picture. I could be with this 1 hour, but it's not my time, But forget about this pyramid, the normal pyramid in the companies, the command and control model, where the managers are telling the people what to think, what to do, and even shut up. This is not the right model. We should try to put the pyramid in the other way, in the other direction, and helping the people that is adding value, that is working in our companies. I love this sentence in Japanese proverb. If people works for you, you work for them. we are here. We are in the companies to help the people in the day-to-day problems. Oh, by the way, I forget to do one important thing that I used to do in every webinar. It's the initial survey. Sorry. Let me go through this little survey. This is probably even stupid, but I realize of it. You can vote 3 different questions about where are you attending the webinar from. The second question is if you have ever visited Japan, and if you would like to do it, and regarding your actual knowledge in Kaizen, Lean, or whatever the name you wanted to add. And look at the possible answers. In the last question is still a big road to cover. I've added it. Sorry about my. Mainly 60% almost is people from Spain, and then the second position is from US. Yeah.
Great.
Then we have some other parts of Europe, other from America. Only 9% of the people has visited Japan.
Opportunities.
Yeah. And 52% would like to enroll someday to know about Japan and Kaizen study missions. So good opportunity. And regarding knowledge in Lean, there's a lot of experience in the people over here. Like 20% of the people, more than 12 years in the Lean continuous improvement business, Katie. So wow. Great level, really, and some of them that have no idea. This is also good. This is also good. This is also good.
Wonderful. Okay. Everyone is a learner and a leader. So
yeah. Always learning. I put this in my I think it's my Twitter account. Perpetual learner. We are perpetual learners. Also, okay, thank you. I will finish the survey, and I will go back to my presentation, but I don't want to go too much in detail because Katie and Isao are the important people. But let me go through this leadership mnemonic I've done. Of course, it's mine. I have not invented the wheel, But regarding Lean and leadership, that we're going to talk today about that, I have developed this mnemonic, with every capital letter, every initial letter. I have written down some important thing that we should have as leaders. If I would do the survey about what's the most important point, probably some of them would arise, like humility, probably respect, probably practice or persistence, a lot of different things, but something that I'm always learning, Katie, is the L from listening. That if we want to be real good leaders, we should develop all this in a good manner. I will send it to you if you want, all this leadership mnemonic. Okay, I don't want to stall you too much time, But regarding the 4P29, I would just told you about the 29 seconds rule. I don't know if you have ever heard about the 29 seconds rule. I think the first time I listened to that was with Norman Bodek. And it's regarding the Kaizen concept, What's this 29 seconds, Katie? Normally, at least in Spain, we work we were like 8 hours, 8 hours is 4,800 minutes, and in seconds is 28,800 seconds, and 28.8 seconds is the 0.1% of the time we're working, okay? Sorry, it's a little confusing. Yeah, I have a engineering head, you know, but in order to not to appear too strange, I have rounded this 28.8 to 29. You know, Katie, you get this? Yeah, 20, this 29. Yeah. Okay. And what's this all about? Okay. Imagine what would happen in any of your companies if only today everybody working in your company improve the way they work in 29 seconds. What would happen today in your companies, Katie? In every company, that today they would improve 0.1%. You follow me, Katie?
I am following you.
Yeah. Imagine this is the good point. If all of you understand all this, then it's like little history. The funny thing is how to do that. We can maintain it every day for 1 month, and in 1 month we would improve 3% if everybody every day would improve just a little bit, you know. And if we maintain it for 1 year, we would improve 33% in 1 year. And if we maintain it that every day, everybody in everywhere of your companies was improving just almost nothing, because 29 seconds is almost nothing, really. In 3 years' time, we would improve 100%. This is my concept of Kaizen, you know, every day, but everybody. This is the real important thing that our friends from Toyota have really done in a good way. Yeah? I remember that some time ago, Isao even sent me the initial suggestion system in Toyota that was built in 1953, you know, Katie? And do you know how many suggestions they have taken from the employees in that time, in this time? More than 100 million little ideas. 100 million. Probably they are now in 200 million. But what happens normally in the non-Toyota companies? That we have a few ideas, yeah? Only the management is getting few ideas and big ideas with big impact, you know? But this is not Kaizen. Yeah? Kaizen is to have many ideas from all the people that is working in the companies. Many ideas, little impact, and done in a minute and in 1 day. This is the thing. This is the thing. Okay. Okay. I'm going to stop in here, you know, because otherwise I'm going to mix to match. Yeah, and I really believe people would like to know about you. Yeah, would like about Yoshino. Yeah, and probably it's enough for me today. I will even finish the presentation now, and I will get the people like anxious to know about the two other piece or three other piece. Probably they can ask about it. And Katie, this is your time. I will even, in order to know if it's better, I will switch off my audio at the moment in order to know if Yoshino can hear it better. And it's your time. Okay.
We'll come back. We'll come back in and we can all have a discussion and open it for questions from the audience too. And I'll be watching the chat as well. So
okay, perfect, Katie.
All right, let's see if I can get in. We were trying out a new software. All right, this is all uploaded well.
Fantastic.
All right, and okay, great. And then I'm hearing a little bit of feedback, Rafael. I'm not sure if that's from you or from me, but we'll just get started. So welcome everyone again. What a great introduction from Rafael to put some context around what Mr. Yoshino and I are here to talk about. And it's been such an honor for me to get to know Mr. Yoshino over the last 5 years, and not only professionally, but now personally as well. And I was a lean practitioner when I moved to Japan, and the level of knowledge and the depth of, I guess, the just the depth behind the principles that I had long been taught. I have a new appreciation, and I'm really thrilled to be able to share them with you here. And I'm trying to figure out how to slide. Sorry, this is a new thing for me here. All right. Here we go. So we already did our introductions, and what's really thrilling is just a few weeks ago we announced the book that is coming out in July. I'll have more information at the end, and you should be able to pre-order it actually next week. And it contains all of the stories that we're going to touch on a bit here today. And what's really exciting is you're going to get to hear from Mr. Yoshino today from his own perspective about these experiences. And this is a picture of me. It was exactly a few weeks ago was the 5-year anniversary of me first meeting up with Mr. Yoshino. This is my husband here in Nagoya. We had just moved to Japan for my husband's job, actually, but I was very excited for the opportunity for myself. And I made my husband take the day off of work, and we went down and met up with Mr. Yoshino, and he took us to Toyota City. I thought it was going to be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and little did I know that I would be leading study trips to Japan and writing the book with Mr. Yoshino 5 years later. We would meet up regularly in his office and talk. I would jump on the bullet train, and now we collaborate around the world. And Raphael showed this picture earlier. It was really fun to, because of the blog I started writing when I was living in Japan. I thought it was a really unique opportunity for me as a lean practitioner to be living in Japan, and I wanted to share that knowledge with other people, which is why I started writing the blog. And so it was great that Raphael reached out saying, I'm going to be in Japan. We met up in Nagoya, which is where I introduced him to Mr. Yoshino, and they've developed a relationship. And then we had this dinner in Tokyo a few days later. And now the output of this collaboration, Mr. Yoshino and I have been working with intention and purpose for the last 2 years to capture his stories and insights from over 40 years. And I'm going to ask him a question now, because one of the big themes of our experience of working on this book together is the concept of hansei, of reflection and of learning. And Raphael touched on this earlier, I can say this morning, but wherever you are, whatever time zone you're on, earlier, about how learning never ends. And Mr. Yoshino has really reflected on that for himself, that he's learning and relearning more about his life through the process of being asked questions and thinking. Please, Mr. Yoshino, I want to turn this over to you.
Yeah.
And on what are some of your reflections about the process of working on this book together?
Well, actually, long time ago, that Katie was talking about her idea to write a book about Toyota. And then I was asked to have an interview, and then through all those interviews, she wants to get all the histories through one person. And basically, when we talk about it, I don't remember not so many things, which is now included in the book, because there are so many bad memories, so many miserable memories. I ran into when I was working at Toyota, good things and bad things. It's a mixture. And bad things, I just wanted to forget about it. I don't want to keep it. I don't want to remember that. So I did not dig down all those bad memories. However, while we are talking, Katie and I are talking about all those questions, talking about all those, book content, I found out that we can learn so many things, good things, from the failure, from the unhappy ending, or from the bad situation. We can learn so many things. At the same time, we can learn very little from the success stories. So I found out that, okay, this book writing, it requires a lot of interviewing. So maybe this is going to be a very, very exciting 1 year, 1.5 years, be receiving interviews. So this is great learning experience for me again. And all the things, all the memories who were, hidden somewhere, and I don't even remember that I just did it. But still, she keeps asking me so details, keep asking me why is that? So that is a very good opportunity for me to look back and try my best to look back. Then I dig down again, just like a farming, dig down again and find out that, oh, this is what happened. So this is a great learning experience. So in the book, if you buy a book, you will notice that this is a story of my life within Toyota, but it's not my personal life. Doesn't matter. It's not so important. So this is a great learning, and I also looking back and reviewing or doing hansei, or looking back what you have done or you have not done, is a very, very great source of the new energy which can be generated within you.
It's been a really special experience. Mr. Yoshino and I were running through the slides just so he had an overview of the context. And he said, I'm not saying things exactly the same way as I said them before. And I said, no, it's great because the nuances and the small differences of memory or expression, I learned something new from that every time too. And so I think that's the beauty of memory and conversation, is it's not always exactly the same, and you uncover different elements at different times. But we can't keep putting more things in the book, so that's why these webinars are great. So thank you. Rafa, do I need to put the slides back on? Yeah. How do I shift back to that? Oh, great, thank you. One of my realizations through this process is, and I knew this before, so again, it's just the richness of understanding that's happened through my experience of living in Japan, and really through my relationship with Mr. Yoshino as well, is that reflection is the beginning, it's not the end of learning. So, when we do a plan, do, study, adjust cycle, it's actually, we start with the adjustment, we start with the reflection, the learning, and then we move forward and create. And so similarly, a book's never, it's just one point in time of reflections to then how do we use that information and thinking to help us move forward into the future and keep learning. I also wanted to share with you, this is exciting, one of my large darumas here. I got this in Japan a year ago, and it actually has the word intention on it. I have a very large daruma collection. There's a saying in Japanese, a proverb, Raphael shared one earlier: fall down 7 times, get up 8. And I really, this proverb meant a lot to me over the last few years of working towards a goal. And darumas are weighted at the bottom. It's about having a goal, and then it's falling down and getting back up to achieve your goal. It's that we're going to have challenges and failures along the way, but it's about getting up and persevering. Mr. Yoshino, it would be great for the audience to hear from your perspective what this Japanese proverb has meant to you in your life.
Well, actually, fall down 7 times and getting up 8. That means, well, 7 does not necessarily mean 7 or 8 or 6. 7 is many numbers. See, not one time, 2 times. 7 is many opportunities. So 7 times, that means if you fail 7 times, don't get depressed. That means 7 times, 10 times, many times, don't get depressed, because you have things will turn right to better one. So don't give it up. So that is a very, very important lesson that we need to keep in mind. And so in our life there are so many things happen, good things, bad things happen, and so it's so important to get back. I don't know why 7 times and getting up 8. So what's the difference between 7 and 8? Because but probably 7 again, it's many numbers, big numbers, and also it tells us a very important lesson that whatever happens to you, bad things, but still don't lose your hope, because as long as you are serious about your future, about your endeavor, then things will pick up. And actually, I learned from my own experience. This happens to me. In my case, maybe 13 times, and getting back 14 or 15. So this is really true. So this is one of the most appreciated proverb in Japan. And
Never
of course,
up,
it comes from China. Everything comes from China, including coronavirus. But this is one of the things that come from China.
Yep.
It's a fantastic message. This one from the actual
That's
time.
Right.
And I think in this, and you mentioned the pandemic, I think that it now more than ever, this sense of how do we get up and keep moving forward is really important.
Yeah, but this is a fantastic message from these complicated times, really.
Yes.
It's going to be hard times for a lot of people,
Yeah. We will get up. All right.
Sure.
Share the slides, please.
Yeah.
Great. I also want to share this word of intention that's been really important to me. Actually, I got this personally inscribed with that same kanji. You can see it there when I was by the monks in Japan. When I got business cards made in Japan 5 years ago, I had already started my own company, but I didn't have a business logo. So I said, put the words for intention on my card, because it's a word that means a lot to me. And I learned that the lower part of the symbol on the left means heart, and the one on the right means direction. And it came to take a new sort of deeper nuance for me on what the word intention is. And the reason I'm sharing this is because it's also important for us to think about as leaders and as learners, what's really important to us, what's important inside as people, and then as leaders of people, what are we trying to accomplish and that has meaning here? And then how do we align our actions and our behaviors in that direction? And so it's creating awareness for ourselves of purpose and heart. And you'll hear that sense of this throughout our discussion here today, that leading with the heart is really important. And then how do you have sense of direction and where you're going as well, and to connect those two. So I just want to offer that as well. It's really important for us to have the connection of heart and direction. Okay. And I included this quote because I've learned a lot from Mr. Yoshino about what respect means. We hear, of course, that, respect for people and continuous improvement are the two pillars of the Toyota way. But respect has a really deeper meaning for Toyota people. And I wanted Mr. Yoshino to talk about that with you here, because it's been really enlightening for me too, the deeper nuances of what this respect really means. Mr. Yoshino, I turn it over to you in terms of what this pillar of respect for people really embodies at Toyota.
Well, actually, as far as I remember, the first time, well, not necessarily first time, but actually almost the first time I heard about this word, respect. And the comment in the top management, I think it was around 2001 when Toyota Way, which is new, not necessarily new, but another key comment from top management came out. And so respect means, but there are, just like Katie said, the respect means a little bit deeper than it looks. And so within Toyota, we have a slightly different meaning. Keep in mind, and usually, respect is sometimes considered to be just nice to be everybody, or boss. If it talks about the bosses, respected boss needs to treat people nice, and then being nice to everyone working for him, or superficially nice, or something like that. But within Toyota, the respect means a little bit deeper. And one thing is everybody is different. Everybody has a different character, different way of thinking, different code, personal code, different values. So the people who are the top of the group, and you have so many people, then you have to value each person's difference and each person's value. There is only one value, but there are so many values. So that is so important. That is part of respect. And another thing is that the people are very, very important, because it's not machine that makes cars, but it's who handles the machine, people. And the people always make sure that the machine works fine all the time. So maintenance, take care of the machine. People, without people, we cannot make good quality cars. So people are so important. So it's so important. We spend more than 8 hours a day. So you spend more hours, they spend more hours than they spend with their families. So we have to treat them just like a family members. So people, we have to make people feel happy working in the same place for more than 8 hours. So also, people have different opinion, different idea, and probably if you're a boss, then people have much better than their work. because the boss is not making cars, but workers just actually making cars. So they have lots of new ideas. So they would like to be heard. So they are enjoying to be heard, to enjoy the feeling that they are heard. So bosses always has to ask people, has to make sure that they, all the people's good idea is heard. So that is part of the respect. And also taking care of the people means help develop themselves. So all those things are just one word, respect. So respect is not only one, a thing from lower rank people toward upper people. It's not. It's so different from regular meaning. So that's why the meaning of respect 2001 and Mr. Cho, President Cho wanted to point it out is that we are not supposed to forget this very, very hardcore meaning underneath this word. Only just only one word, but there are so many meanings about it. So that is the very basic concept behind this small, tiny word.
Yes. One of the things that I learned from you, and this is in the book too, about how there are two meanings of the word respect in Japanese. So we have, as it translates to English, we just have the word respect, but there's two symbols for respect in Japanese. One is like respect to a senior person, and it's like direct respect to one person, or there's respect for humanity and for humanness. And that is the respect for people that's included in the Toyota Way 2001. And that's a very different nuance than we often think of just respect as, oh, I'm respecting you as an individual. No, this is I'm respecting you for your humanity. And that as a different picture, different meaning. And so
absolutely,
it's really powerful. I actually realized just how I have my my Toyota pen from the Toyota. On the back of this, it says good thinking, good product. And so that really shows that Toyota leads with thinking about people first and then the product.
Absolutely, absolutely. Fantastic link with my leadership mnemonic, listening, the most important point. Okay, we're going to make it here.
All right, great, thank you. Okay, so taking a step back in time, almost 6 years ago was the first time I actually even had really heard of Isao Yoshino. Of course, I had read and used Managing to Learn, which is the book about A3 thinking that John Shook had written. And Mr. Yoshino is credited in the acknowledgments there as the person who taught John Shook about A3 thinking, along with another manager that had reported to Mr. Yoshino. I was at a conference, and this is right a few weeks after we found out we were moving to Japan. And it was just serendipity and luck that Mr. Yoshino happened to be in town as well. And he was up on stage with John Shook. And this is just after this is when we first met, and he gave me his business card and said, look me up. But I was so taken by both Mr. Yoshino's warmth and humor on the stage, and I'll let him, he'll demonstrate that for you here to himself, but also his profound thinking and introspection. And he doesn't remember saying this, but it has struck me so profoundly and has become really my personal guide on how I think about leadership and also how I coach and teach other people. And he said something to this effect, that my aim to develop John Shook as his manager was giving him a mission or target and supporting him while he figured out how to reach the target. And as I was developing John, I was aware that I was developing myself as well. And this is so profound to me, and we're going to dig into these three concepts here today, and I'll let Mr. Yoshino speak for himself about what these elements really mean to him as a leader. But I took that as the simple things you can remember. A leader's role is to set the direction, to provide support, and to develop yourself. And if we can do all three of these, we are going to achieve great people-centered leadership in a culture of learning that's really connected with the heart and in that direction as well. So the first is the setting the direction. And I have a lot to say about targets and setting directions as well, but I really want you to hear from Mr. Yoshino on this. And it's been really great reminder to me about not just the importance of targets, but how to think about setting targets and what that means as a leader. And often in the West, we forget about how important having clear targets and direction is. At Toyota, it's a given. And I want Mr. Yoshino to talk about how something I've learned from him is to set a seemingly impossible target. And the way I take that as target should be determined by what is needed, not what's achievable. Mr. You talk more about this comment that you say often to me that targets should be seemingly impossible. Why do you say that?
Well, actually, if the target is very easy to attain, then you don't. If you are an expert on something, then you don't have to work so hard. But target is something. One thing. But another is the target is given as it should come from the need, not from what you can do. So need come from somewhere else, not from you. So target is something. It's just like a North Star. And you have to bring everybody's attention toward one same goal. And talking about the target, let me give you very quickly about what was my target, because I was in charge of the training program of the NUMI, which is a joint venture between GM and Toyota. And NUMI is a joint venture, and in California in 1984. And at the time, I was given. I was assigned to that training program, and at the time, the target. I was wondering. Okay, NUMI top management decided to send their shop floor leaders to Japan for 3 weeks for training, because all the operation is run by Toyota style. See, and Toyota has offered all those manufacturing and capable manufacturing equipment, all those techniques and management, while GM offered the facility. So that is the condition. And anyway, so I was wondering what is the target of that NUMI president, and it was they decided to send their shop floor leaders, and they want to change the NUMI workers' mindset and also a culture, shop floor culture from GM days to Toyota, the new style. They wanted to change. They want to see the cultural change, and so that's why they send it to us. Then I was wondering, what is my target as a section manager of the training course? And I was wondering, so we are supposed to change their culture within only 3 weeks of training in Japan. We cannot. So what we just discussed a little bit when we start a program. So we discussed among us, what is our target? What is our team's target? What can we do? And what is the target to begin with? Then we came up, NUMI's president says we want to change the culture. Then my target is not to change the culture. We cannot do that. However, we would like to provide every single opportunities to the shop floor leaders to experience by themselves and knee deep in the Toyota culture, and they learn something, and they will bring back 1 or 2 key things that they would like to apply when they come back in Fremont, California. That is my goal. So it doesn't. No need to directly, change the culture, but all those, their determination, and each person has. I want to do this. I want to apply this small thing into my shop floor. As long as each person, each time that we receive 30 people. So each time, all those 30 people have their own personal goals to bring back to California. Then the target is attained. So the target is something like that. And some people say that it's kind of stupid target. How can you just evaluate? I don't know, but it's as long as they set the target by themselves. So for workers, we did not force them. They voluntarily decided, okay, this is my goal. And because at the end of the entire course, we ask them, what is your target to attain when we are back in California? And we informally ask them. So that was really, each person has different. So 30 people have different target, but that is fine. As long as they set a target, that is our target. So target, we are not supposed to consider target is more complicated and sophisticated one. No, target, as long as we have some target, that is good. That is a good place to start. Yeah. And so no need to set up a very, very complicated target, sophisticated target, then you cannot continue. So we believe the target is something like that. So no target, no good. Yeah. Any target is fine. it's kind of stupid target. That's fine, as long as you have some target. Based on that, after setting a target, you can develop action plans to reach the target. If you don't have a target, you cannot come up with any action plans, because there's no way, no star. So that is what target means to us.
I don't know, but in this combination we've talked about, that it's a seemingly impossible target, but don't also.
Oh, okay.
No, but also that two things, because what I've learned from you too is, but also not to get hung up on just trying to figure out the target. You need a target that's directional, and then you will learn and you can do your PDCA cycles. Because if you spend all your time trying to come up with the perfect target, then you're never taking action. So I loved your story about, yes, you need to have a challenge target sort of on the big level, but you also need a target that's just going to help you move forward and to learn. And so I think that's a really wonderful experience you shared here.
Yeah, but it's so important, because seemingly impossible target or almost impossible, same thing. But again, target is determined by the need of your workplace. It's not your choice, but its choice is given by the market or by the need. So should be, so sometimes it's too difficult to attain. However, it's a target. Otherwise, you cannot survive. So if you set easy to accomplish target, then it doesn't help you to develop. So target is come from the necessity. And but sometimes it's so far away, then even though you cannot attain the target within a certain period of time, it's okay, because you set a target and you step forward 1 year, 2 years, second years. So you can phased approach. You can do that as long as you set the target. Then you can bind everybody's effort together into one direction. So without setting a target, you cannot bind everybody's attention. No, everybody goes in the totally different directions. So having a target is so important. And so that's how we should start at the beginning.
Thank you.
Does it make sense?
Great, Rafa. Did you have something you wanted to add to that?
Yeah. Let me show you one thing. Is regarding the 4P of the model I've showed you. You know, but I don't find it. I don't find it at the moment. Sorry. Oh yeah, it's in here. Sorry. You know, even Yoshino, you know, the 4P of the model, you know, is the priority. Is the that we cannot eat an elephant in one day and even in 1 week. Yeah. And imagine in Toyota they are using HOSHIN KANRI. It's not in here. I don't want to show Isao Yoshino's HOSHIN KANRI, but even Isao now, he's been retired from Toyota like 15 years ago, and he's still having a plan. He's still having a plan with his targets, with his action plans, with his strategies, and he's writing it in one piece of paper. You know, so imagine how important it is for Toyota people, how important it is for Isao. Even 15 years later, he's using the same approach that he was using in Toyota. So, very good point.
Thanks, Rafa. Can you bring me back to the slides, please?
Okay.
All right, great, thank you. And this also, you know, it follows on from what Mr. Yoshino said. It's one of the reasons we want that challenge target, because it's what we learn by not achieving the target that makes us smarter. This harkens back to what he said earlier today, is that, you know, we learn more from our failures than from our successes. So, and that's one of the reasons. And then also, in addition, so a leader, we need to set that challenge for people, set a target, help them move towards something that's going to allow them to learn, but we also need to nurture and support them. So this is where also another connection between that direction and the heart. And so something I think Mr. Yoshino is just really special at is the supporting other people and developing them, and really helping people improve and solve their own problems. And there are a few things that I thought would be great for him to share with you here. There's so many stories, and so they're all in the book, so you can get that. But just the flavor of hearing him tell them, and his role as a leader was to help others develop themselves, and that's just so clear on his purpose in life. So there's so many different ways that we can help support people. I pulled out of just a few ways that we have talked about. And one is that, as I would say, is to set the conditions for success and take responsibility when mistakes happen. And Mr. Yoshino talks about how important this is at Toyota's culture about allowing mistakes and supporting mistakes. And again, it's where that learning comes from. And there's a really powerful story that he has, and I'm going to let him tell part of it here.
Sure.
Asked him to tell part of it here. He actually came out in one of our very first interviews 2 years ago when we started talking about the very beginning of his career. And he remembered the story. Mr. Yoshino, I remember you were like, oh my gosh, I had this experience, and realizing what a important foundational event this was for him on his whole Toyota career. It was an experience he had in his orientation, multi-month orientation at Toyota, when he was assigned to the Modimachi paint shop to do some work. And Mr. Yoshino, I'll let you tell the story to people about the big mistake you made.
Okay. Well, when college graduate, when we joined Toyota, we just go through maybe 4 or 5 months training period as an orientation. And during that time, I was the first couple of weeks I was at orientation and in the classroom. Then each of us are sent to the plant because we are car manufacturers. I was sent to the Motomachi plant where the small size car are manufactured. I was assigned to the paint shop, but I was not painting the car, but it required a lot of skill. So I was sent to the paint preparation, paint mixture and in the storage, and then we send that paint, mixed paint, through the pipe all over to the paint shop. So I was supposed to put the paint into the big tank, but at the time there was 2 kinds of paint. One is a paint, another one is solvent. These days we have only 1 kind, but at the time 2 kinds. Paint and solvent we have to put together into one tank. Then I was supposed to put paint A and solvent A one time in one big container and put the switch on. Then it's mix up, and then it automatically sent to the paint shop. And I thought I did the right way. Then maybe a couple of hours later, one of the foreman just rushing to our paint preparation storage, and okay, you guys, something is wrong in the car. The paint does not stick to the car. Something is wrong, bubble. And so then they asked me, so what did you do that? How did you do that? So, yes, sir, I just put this paint A and paint and solvent A. But when I look closely at it, then I put solvent B. It's a different solvent I put it in the tank, but the paint can was sitting on the same area. So, but I was scared because I screw up, and all the bosses just came in and, okay, this is a kind of problem. So I was so scared. They're going to fire me, or they're going to, I was so scared. Then they did not blame me, but, okay, so you mix up because the paint A and solvent B is sitting on almost very close with each other. It's not your fault because anybody can make mistakes. You're just newcomer, so you're not familiar. You did not do that. So instead of blaming me, they just try to find out what should we done. Should have done that. And so they, instead of blaming me, they just discuss about what should be done to prevent from the same thing from happening again. And big boss later came to me, Yoshino, sorry for what happens, but thank you very much for making mistakes, because this gives us a chance to correct it, to make kaizen on how to prevent from the same problem happening again. So I was so satisfied. I was so lucky, not so lucky, but I was so, I feel very comfortable. Okay, this is a culture of Toyota people. And this is not only the paint shop. This we call it, we make a mistake. So bad news first type of culture is prevailing across the company. So when something happens, bad news should come first. So bad news will bring the better idea. So nobody is blamed because we make mistakes. We are human. So that is one of the many good aspects of Toyota's culture. And I was so fascinated with this great culture, which we can never find anywhere else in the world. Well, not in the world, but in Japan.
What struck me in that story is about how your manager you had hundreds of cars that need to be repainted, and they thanked you for making a mistake. And I can't imagine that happening in many other companies as well either. So it's a really powerful story. And for those of you listening here today too, this concept of how Toyota has embodied that at all levels of leadership, this supporting people and through failure and mistakes too, carries through the arc of Mr. Yoshino's experience, both from him as a leader, but also even bigger experiences of failures that we won't talk about here today because it's a very in-depth story, but a failure at the end of his career too, and how the leaders really owned that mistake as well. I want to go back, keep going through, and then we'll have some time for some questions.
I have shared with you a quote in the chat regarding Isao's story. That the problem, the thing is always on the processes. The important thing is the process, not the people. People can make mistakes. Of course, we are going to have mistakes, but if we had the perfect process, it wouldn't happen. And the perfect process is almost impossible. But it's a way.
And there's another experience that really struck me too from Mr. Yoshino. Maybe about 10 years later, Mr. Yoshino was talking about how he was in a different role in the Tokyo office, and this really struck me about how leaders also, when they're supporting people, one of your roles is to teach the process of learning. So leaders don't own the actual learning process, like the actual learning, but how do they create the structures and systems for people to learn? And Mr. Yoshino had a great experience of this when he was asked to write a report for the senior boss at the Tokyo office, and was basically, well, I'll let him tell the story. So Mr. Yoshino, if you can tell people about what happened when you were asked to write this report and you decided not to go to Gemba.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, it was around 1972, 73. It's right after the oil crisis, and all over the world, in Japan too. And at the time, I was in the public relations department in Tokyo office, right in the middle of Tokyo, and I have to deal with press people, writers, everything. So it's media people, and so we have to, under the situation of that oil crisis, we have to establish, Toyota needs to establish some very positive, a strategy how to cope with the situation. So the big boss in the Tokyo office wanted to know what other top leaders of Japanese corporation, what kind of strategy, public relations strategy they have in these days. So he asked me, Yoshino, why don't you were working in the public relations, so why don't you just check, why don't you make a quick research of other major companies like Hitachi, Mitsubishi, and the Toshiba, or the Panasonic, and the Nissan, or other key companies, what kind of public relations strategy they are developing in order to cope with this very fast-moving situation. I was assigned to the job, but I was so busy taking care of all those media people, so I just check only from the library. At the time there was no computer, no internet, so I just check all the documents in our library, small library. Also just across the street there was one of the largest library in that area, so I went over there and pick up some of the documents, some of the books about all those public relations, the organization chart, and all those policies. I just went through that and make a very quick A3 report. And then it was a timing that for me to report to them with all the maybe 10 or 12 managers and other bystanders. And then I was about to start reporting to them. Then the big boss just asked me, by the way, Yoshino, just where did you get this information? And then, yes, sir, I was so busy. And so I just went all the libraries, and I believe it's a very important, and it's a big data. So I just get all those data from the book, from all the newspapers and everything. So then he asked me, okay, we are now based in Tokyo. You can go to all those companies within 10 minutes taxi drive. You can even walk to some of the companies, but you haven't gone there yet. No, sir. Then he stopped me and, okay, you haven't done that. What do you need to do? You didn't go to Gemba. Just right there, you can talk to the people and hear their voice, real voice. Then you can sense all those key things behind their words. But you didn't do that. Why don't you come back? I will give you one or 10 days. Then why don't you do that again and go to Gemba and come back to me? And so I was in the middle. I was so embarrassed because I did not, I did a good job in summarizing all these things, but it's not what he wanted to see. So then, to make a long story short, I just came back maybe a week or 10 days later, and not luckily, but all the information I received directly from face-to-face interviews from all those couple of companies, and all the information is same as my original report, which I got it from the library. However, it is not what he would like to see. He wanted me to go to those companies, go to the Gemba, talk to the people, and share, exchange views. Through that conversation, you can sense what they believe is important in the public relations section. So he expects me to do that first before establishing all those A3. So go to Gemba. Go to Gemba concept is not only for the plant, but also from the office workers too. That is one of the things he wanted to teach me. So I was so happy that his name is Mr. Fuse. Fuse he's a managing director. And I was so satisfied, not embarrassed, but at the same time satisfied that he just gave me a chance to go to Gemba again, and which I learned when I was in the Motomachi plant, but I totally forgotten. So this is one of the things that I learned. Go to Gemba is really important to any area. That because only the truth come from the facts. I used all the documents as an assumption because I did not double check with face-to-face conversation. So it is still, tells me a lesson that if you want to find out the real truth, then you have to go back to those original place and check it by yourself. That is a lesson I really learned. So that my life in the Tokyo office in 5 years is really, really meaningful.
Yeah, thank you. I thought it was pretty impressive when that you told me as well that this manager, he said, "Oh, I didn't expect you to have anything different. Like I didn't actually care what you found out. I wanted you to go to Gemba." And so he was really caring about how learning that process of how to be a good learner and a good leader was the most important thing that he was leading with. So really, really great.
Probably Katie, there's some questions. Probably you could mix all three in one question regarding, but probably Isao cannot listen to me. Probably if you can ask him regarding if he sees a process regarding managerial skills and about short-term thinking and about acting as coaches, managers in Toyota and in the rest of the world. I don't know if Yoshino
so
can...
I can just frame that Mr. Yoshino will have a hard time talking about things that are happening in current day at Toyota and other he can talk about his experiences and the concepts of what it means to be a people-centered leader. He will have a harder time talking about what's currently happening in Toyota or other companies as well, because he's not there in Gemba himself. I do think there's some great questions in here. We just have a few more points, and maybe we can just finish those stories and then come back to the questions.
Okay, perfect, yeah.
So thank you. And I do want to just let people know, like, asking about questions that of things that are happening today in your companies or trends are typically not as easy for him to have some insight into. Yeah. So then one other thing, Rafael, you talked about this earlier about how important it is for leaders to be curious, ask questions, and to listen. And part of that's letting people learn. And Mr. Yoshino still goes and visits his mentor, who's in his 80s, in outside of Tokyo. And Mr. Yoshino learned the importance of asking questions from this leader, Mr. Sugiura. And Mr. Yoshino, just want maybe share just one short thing about how this concept of being curious and asking questions is really important as a leader to help support others.
I see. When I was working, my mentor and my boss, his name is Mr. Sugiura, and when I started working for him, I was so impressed by the way he asked questions. One time, he wanted to go to the technical center and he wanted to meet a big shot. And then he asked me, well, Yoshino, why don't you join me? Because it's going to be interesting because we have never talked to all those big shots. So maybe it's going to be a big chance. Then while I was listening beside him, how he just asked those questions, he's very good because to a very eloquent or to, positive, and also the person who talks a lot, then it's not too difficult. Because you just kick off something, then you just start something, then automatically those guys would like to share all his comment, everything. But when in case that very quiet guy, many of the engineers are very quiet, but very, very, big heart, but strong mindset, but they are not so much speakers. But sometimes Mr. Sugiura just beating around the bush and try to warm up and just maybe first 5 minutes talking about so many things. And so ask questions, simple questions. Then he just ask another question, and from the different angle. And so that the quiet guy, feel very happy and feel comfortable with the pace and everything. So Mr. Sugiura just knows how to ask a question in a very, very nice manner so that people feel very comfortable to speak up. So I learned so many things, and also learned that Mr. Sugiura my mentor. He is so nice to ask me to join. And because he wanted me to learn how to ask questions to the people who are so busy and they want to save some time, but still they spare the 30 or 40 minutes to talk to us. So I learned so many things. It's not just like a TV announcer, but he talks like a country gentleman, but the very, very, skillful, and also he just get into their heart mindset, make them feel good to speak up. And so, but it is a very great experience to listen to the people. So it's not that eloquent people is not necessarily a good speaker, but Mr. Sugiura speaks slow and speaks just softly, but he grabs very key things, and in order to get it, he just asks many, many questions. Then right after the guy warms up, then he just asks right to the center. So it's amazing, just like you is a hunted fox in the forest. So it's very, very interesting the way he asks questions. Also, that is his style to coach his people, including me. So I always try to be nice and try to make people feel happy working in that environment. So I was impressed. I believe that he's one of the best mentor.
Yeah. And you highlight something that you've talked about a lot, about this chain of learning that happens at Toyota, about the mentorship that leaders have in coaching and developing. We're hearing that through all different stories that you had, and then how you've been embodying that as well. With one more point on developing people, and then I think we can, and we'll close with about the importance of learning, and then we'll go to some of these questions that are coming in here. Rafael, will you put the slides back on, and then we'll, yeah. All right, and then just one more point on this is that one thing I learned from Mr. Yoshino, and he doesn't use these words exactly, but you need to go to Gemba to show that you care. And there's a nuance of this. It's not just going to see facts and validating that, but it's, Mr. Cho says, go see, ask why, show respect. And this is something that Mr. Yoshino really learned for himself as well about developing that human connection. It's not by just respecting the person, but of individually. But can you tell us a little bit more about that, and then we'll shift into some questions in a moment.
Well, actually, back in maybe early 70s, when I was in the Motomachi plant, and then I was busy. My job was to make all the arrangement for the model change of a car. The car has a big model change every 4 or 5 years. And I was in charge of that Cressida, which is a mid-sized car. And at the time, I was so busy. And so I work on all those paperwork to pass all the key information, the model change information from the technical division to the plant. So it's so important to do precisely. So in the morning, I'm so busy to just check all the key information changes to write it down and bring it to the shop floor. So in the morning, I work on all the desk work. In the afternoon, try my best to just come down to the shop floor, go to Gemba, and talk to the foreman, talk to the group leader, team leaders in charge. And of course, it is necessary to do so to keep the communication. At the same time, talking to them face to face, you can feel what they are thinking, whether they are happy working on that, what is their major problem they are facing right now. All those things, if you stay there for more than 30 minutes talking about so many things, then they feel very happy that for me to come down from shop, from the office down there, instead of sending it by mail, company mail, but I just come to bring myself over there. So they feel so happy to receive the young guy coming and stay there and talking and listening. So just to see things in front of me, but at the same time, I succeeded in getting to know all those key people more deeply. And at the same time, they know about me. So which is very, very important for me, because I was so convinced that, with these great people, that's why we make good cars. We don't cheat, just like other companies. We don't cheat. They don't cheat. So I learned all these, the personality and everything, not only the job-related things, but they talk about their family, they talk about the friend, they talk about the background, they talk about the hometown. So it's very, very nice to create any good rapport, good relation with them. So that is one of the things I learned. I was younger, but I learned so many things. The people mindset, I think, was developed in me when I was in the Motomachi plant.
Yeah, it's that human connection of the heart.
That's
and I want
right.
to end on a point, the 6th point. So going back to the leader's role is also to always develop yourself. And you see, in Mr. Yoshino tells stories about this, of his leaders developing themselves. And there's some great things about this ConPro program, which we aren't touching in here. But I want you to just reflect on this, and then we'll go to some of the questions about why, as a leader, is it important to both helping other people lead and learn, but also for yourself to be learning as well?
Well, actually, leaders are not supposed to know everything. Leaders, president, all those executives, their major role is to make important decisions, to make sure that people are working safely and more efficiently. So they don't have to know everything on what happened on the shop floor. So they just assign all the works to the people down there. So it's trust is based. And and also we make mistakes, and it's a very, very common understanding. We make mistakes, so we always should be ready to find a problem and to take some countermeasures to improve it. That is an ongoing process. It's not one time. So because we make mistakes even though we don't want to. So that type of concept, always prepare for the worst, prepare for mistakes, and prepare. And we are not supposed to believe we are perfect. We are always making mistakes, even though we don't want to. So always improvement or Kaizen mindset is very, very important. And always, if we fail to keep it, then we will fail anything, everything. So, and one of the key comments coming from the chairman of AG Toyota is that I still remember that if you are content with what you are, then that's the beginning of the corruption. So he said that comment when Toyota is growing so fast and to become number one and number two in the world. At that time, maybe people can be so happy and we are the best. But Mr. Eiji Toyoda said, okay, you guys, we have to be careful not to be too happy because we are still on the 8 steps of the 10 steps. So we are still 8. We have 2 more steps to go to the perfect situation. So we are not supposed to be too happy. So that kind of a concept is prevail across the company. So we always keep learning. We are not, we are not we are the best. So that's why that is one of the key concepts which we don't talk about it so often, but we can sense because Big Shot is so serious about it. We have to prepare for the worst. We have to prepare for some mistakes. So that is the concept is passed down from top management to the next layer, then all the way come down to the young people like me. So I can sense it. So that is not not well known in the world, but that is one of the very, very key factors what makes Toyota as it is. And sometimes it's not a number, but mindset and readiness, and also the care about the people working for them. So all those invisible things, and it's difficult to explain, but all those things which you cannot see, but you can sense it. And that is part of the many, many great secret of Toyota's success, I believe.
Yes. You once told me the only secret to Toyota is its attitude towards learning. And I think that really encompasses everything we've talked here. I want to leave some time for, actually I have that quote in here too. Where is it? Yeah, here we go. The only secret to Toyota is attitude towards learning and its attitude towards people. So let's go into some of these questions. Thank you, Mr. Yoshino. And we can see, there was a question here I thought was interesting that you might be able to comment on about the concept of shuhari and about how to learn in a sort of an apprenticeship model, and how you think of that concept as it relates to how you were learning and leading at Toyota.
Say it again. What is the question?
The shuhari, the C1 do one, like the C1 do one master one concept that came out of the martial arts that's sort of foundational to
the learning
to a lot
process.
of culture. You're not familiar with that yourself.
No.
So I'll phrase that a different way. One time we had talked about how coaching is a bit like learning how to make sushi, and the apprenticeship model that happens with learning by observing, learning by doing, and then learning by mastering. And how has that concept been something that you've taken with you as you have been learning or developing other people at Toyota as well? Sort of,
I see. Well, it's within Toyota, learning come from your own experience. If you learn, you feel like you learn. I learned something very completely. When you read all the 160 pages of book and you just understand everything, then you feel like, I understand everything. But it's not complete unless you put it into practice or into some of the real thing, apply to real thing and check whether your learning is really works or not. So action plans, the learning something is one way, but put it into practice and make sure that it's really, really great learning by doing it and double checking whether you learn it knee deep. So that is the concept of our learning. And I don't know whether that is the right answer to your question, but it's always, I wanted to action and not only the theory. So always we do something instead of think, instead of feel, but feeling or think is happens in your mindset. But action, you have to use your hands and legs and everything. You have to move around.
Yeah.
So that is the only way we can learn something. And also through talking. If you learn something, you believe you learn something, then you have to express in your own word. Then you can tell. That is exactly what I'm coaching to my student in my university. And so in my university, just I always try to encourage people to speak up. And I advise them, don't try to be perfect. Don't try to be nice. Just whatever comes to your mind, speak up. And I don't, I don't stop it, but just speak up. Just it's so important. And that is a culture that I was raised. So sometimes I make stupid comments, but people don't laugh within Toyota. They don't laugh because it's, oh, he's a little bit different.
Yeah.
But 10 people have different opinions. He's one of them. So it's very, very nice culture that always try to be different, not different. Try to be put into practice and make sure that your learning is sturdy and your learning is right. And go to Gemba is the same concept. Go to Gemba, double check what you have learned in the book, make sure you look at it, touch it, and feel it. Then your learning is not necessarily completed, but is reached closely to the reality.
Thank you. Matt Weir asked an interesting question. He worked at Toyota as well. And given that you've had experience in Toyota across many different places, so you worked at Toyota in Japan, and then you worked at Toyota in the US, and then for Toyota Motor Sales in the US for the remaining about 10 years of your career, I think you can have some interesting insights into this. He asks about Toyota's efforts to close the gap or to teach its thinking and culture in other cultures. So I'll just read it. He's reflecting about Toyota's effort to share its culture and attributes. There continues to be some short-term thinking organizations that don't have Toyota's mindset. And I know you had that experience too with Toyota Motor Sales, and I'm wondering if maybe you can comment on what do you think would have helped to have a greater impact to really teach that culture to these other organizations?
Nice. Well, actually, after so many years working at Toyota City, where Toyota's very, very down-to-earth culture started, then I just went to Los Angeles, California, and I stayed there for 10 years. So totally different culture. And different people working there, even though the company name is start with Toyota, but totally different culture. I'm not saying it's good or bad. Different culture, different people, different business, different work environment, different target, different customers. So it's so different. Then I was struggling with my partner because he was raised in the totally different culture. I was raised in different culture, but we are partners. We work together. So always conflict. So what I did is that, his style is so different. My style is so different. I would like him to do a little bit about my own style too, as well as his style. So what I did is that I try to show it. Always go to Gemba type of concept. Always try to go back to the real. Oh, I cannot see you.
Can you see me?
Yeah, I don't know.
You're still there. If you keep talking.
Okay. Anyway, so what I did is that in order to convince him by talking, but I just try to do things by myself and show that what my comment was right by doing things, by the going to Gemba and make sure that my comment was right or wrong. Always go to Gemba and go to the people. Instead of talking on the phone, but go to the place in the next building and talk to them and exchange views and bring back all those key information. And it's slightly different from the fact that you hear from the telephone or emails. So always try to show it, and my attitude, and try to try to show it to my partner. Then it took so many years for him to change his style a little bit. And you cannot change people overnight, because once you just grown up in one culture, it's almost difficult. But it's not impossible, but it's possible. And as long as you're patient and you stick to your own style, and show that the go-to Gemba concept, or and also respect people type of these key concept really works to anybody. So I always try to show it by my own style, and then he witnessed me the way I do that. The way, just every time I need to find something, that I go there next building and walk maybe 15 minutes, walk to the across the street and to other department and ask them. And instead, in his case, he just called them on the phone. Oh, okay, I understand. Then he makes decision by only the telephone conversation. Instead, I just go there and talk to them, and see all those data and everything. So I was showing, I showed, and I don't know how much he could learn, but I believe I made a small influence to my partner.
That's
And
great.
but of course it does not change his style totally, but I believe he started to seriously think about just getting closer to my style a little bit. I could sense it from time to time. So that was what I tried to do. So you cannot change people overnight, particularly when it comes to the mentality. No, it's impossible. So, but still, there is something you can do it. And so it's just go-to Gemba type concept is more broader meaning. I don't
Yes.
know whether that is the answer to your question, but that comes to my mind.
Thank you. Thank you. And we're almost out of time. So I want to thank you so much,
Okay.
Mr. Yoshino, for sharing your experiences. I wanted to let people know how they can find out more about the book. There's a link that I put in here, and then there's a link here. Next week, we should have the pre-order up on Amazon, and there's a lot more information about the book on this website here, Learning to Lead, Leading to Learn. And then, of course, in another time, you can join us in Japan and just continue to have the dialogue. There's so many rich stories that Mr. Yoshino didn't touch on in the book, especially touching on Matt's comment there about how do you create this culture. And there's some stories of success about Numi and some stories of failure in a water ski boat venture that Mr. Yoshino led. And so there's a lot of richness that of learning about success and failure and developing culture in the book there. So thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, thank you very much, Katie. Thank you
very much.
Isao. I will do a final survey. Yes, 1 minute final survey. Just for everyone that is still in the room. Please do the final survey, just to know if you like it, if you don't like it. Evaluation, if you like the model. If you would like to participate in future events or webinars, or even in the future Japan study missions to Japan, I have also sent you my email and my Twitter account in there, just to keep in touch with all of you. And I fully recommend you to participate in the launch team of Katie's book. That is going to be. I'm anxious to read it. I'm anxious to read it, Katie. Yes. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much, Isao, for your.
Great, and we'll there'll be other opportunities, and hope you can be involved in some other pre-launch activities with webinars and podcasts, and with your content. I also had some other content that I didn't share here, and if you go to my website, you can see some of that information there as well. So,
okay, Katie, and we have pending to do a common Japanese study mission, American and Spanish, or European. Sometimes I've done it. Hopefully this year we can do it together.
Yes. Okay? All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. Bye. Good night.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Bye. Thank you. Good night. Peace out. Good night.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you, Mr. Yoshino.
Thank you, Isao, Mr.
Bye. Thank
Mr.
you,
Isao.
Rafa.
Thank
Bye.
you.